Hello and welcome to Club 100's race day coverage from round 4 of our Sprints Championships at the picturesque Whilton Karting Circuit in Northamptonshire. This is programme 3 and features our entry-level heavyweight championship. The driving standard is still high, and for some drivers it's all the friendly competition they need and don't feel the need to move up. The format is a little different. There is a timed practice and qualifying session affording some familiarisation to the track. The top 20 qualifiers proceed to the first Pre-A final. The remaining 30 drivers line up in the Pre-B final. From there, the top 4 will be promoted to the back of the A final, while the remainder get one last chance, or rather 2 remaining places on the A final grid, from finishing first and second in the B final. Fastest lap times in the pre-finals determines the grid for the main finals, and the results from both the pre-final and final count towards the championship. Best 16 results from the 11-round season determines the outright heavyweight champion. And in terms of the 2015 championship, after 3 rounds it's really been a story of Jonathan Elliott's dominance. With 4 wins from the opening 2 rounds at Buckmore Park and Ella Park, however there's cause for a little optimism for the chasing pack. He is beatable, as he failed even to podium at the last round at Red Lodge. His lead however is a substantial 25 points over Darrell Law, who has a 30-point advantage over Josh Pettit, who heads the chasing pack. The top 8 in the championship have qualified directly to the Pre-A final. 9th in the championship, Lenny Wood has qualified in pole position for the Pre-B. Dave Price on the front row with him, Stuart Kirk, Nick Pollicott on row 2, Josh Walsh, James Atfield on row 3, Alistair Mason, Paul Williams 10th in the championship on row 4, Nick Bredner and Carolis Consecas on row 5. It's 29 karts in this Pre-B final, all shooting for just one of 4 qualifying spots to get on the back of the main Trophy A final. Well, thanks for bearing with me through the exposition. We're now down to racing. We could have just said just enjoy it, because here we go, looking for that red light to turn green. Lenny Wood leads into turn 1. Dave Price on his right trying to get in at the apex. And he's done it, and Price leads out of turn 1 and up the hill. And I think Stuart Kirk's trying to get through on Lenny Wood as they approach Christmas Corner. On the outside, 22 is Josh Walsh trying to go round the outside. On board with Mikhail Samaropoulos in the midfield. That's Andy Katsantonis ahead of us. Through the flat-out Inkerman's corner and then down to Ashby. Oh, James Atfield all crossed up, but he's managed to get it turned in without collecting anyone. Ashby's probably the second best overtaking spot on the circuit after Christmas Corner. Kart 18 is Nick Bredner, down the inside of James English in the distinctive Nigel Mansell helmet design. If you don't recognise it, there must be something wrong with you. Holding off Paul Lloyd, having just lost out to Paul Williams. Behind Lloyd, Tim Williams looking for a way by, can't get it done. Out of the boot section, then flat out through the pit bend. A little bit easier than it used to be after they've put in a bit more runoff. Same could be said for turn 1, except this still has teeth to bite you. Kart number 4, Andy Clark, missing the apex on the second corner, and he's run out wide and has just kept it off the tyres. Katsantonis down the inside of Nick Butler up at Christmas Corner. That's the favoured overtaking spot on the circuit. Ashby is the next one, and Lloyd is down the inside of Paul Williams, and Tim Williams will come through with him if he can, but he's on the outside for Parker, so Paul Williams will keep that spot. Katsantonis sticks his nose in and goes through on Carolis Consecas. And he's picked off Tim Williams down at Chapman's to move into 13th place. Consecas holding off Butler. 34 is Nicholas Reynolds. Into the boot section, across the toe. Very narrow through there. It's not 3 karts wide, as you can see. And flat through the last corner. And then flat, if you've got the bottle for it, through turn 1. And all the way up to braking at Christmas Corner. Battle for 18th place. Samaropoulos closing in on Nick Butler up to Christmas. Braking just before the marshal's post, managing to get it stopped and not collect kart number 6, which is Paul Goddard. Through Inkerman's, down to Ashby, and across the slope from Ashby to Parker. Tim Williams ahead of Paul Williams. Through Parker, looking for a line. This is another overtaking opportunity down at Chapman's. A little bit more difficult. Into the boot section, into the toe. Oh, and Bredner's a bit leery. He's got it done. Oh, and they're all piling in behind as he loses momentum. 15 is Roger Mullen, and he's moved into 8th place. Across start-finish to start lap 4. Bredner looking to the inside of English. Oh, can't get it done in there. That was tricky. Tim Williams sets the fastest lap. Fastest lap times only really matter if you stay for the B final. Tim Williams, I'm sure, would prefer to qualify directly by being one of the top 4. But it's still very handy to have if you do remain for the B final, because starting from the front of the grid is much easier to qualify for one of those 2 qualifying spots than starting from the middle or the back. Back in 18th place with Mikhail Samaropoulos, that's Paul Goddard ahead of us. Oh, he's locked up and lost it down into Ashby. He'll have to wait for a pusher cart driver to restart him. Battle for 3rd place here. You can see Price out ahead. Stuart Kirk in 2nd. They've dropped Josh Walsh, and Walsh has lost out to Nick Policott, but Policott's gone a long way into the boot. Makes him slow across the tour. That's put Walsh on the grass, and a chance for James Atfield to move through into 3rd place. Remember, 4 to qualify. No one wants to be 4th when there's a queue of carts behind you. The only thing worse than that is actually 5th. Everybody wants to be in a qualifying spot. And this is the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way back to about 10th or 11th. Mullen unable to get through at Christmas Corner. Atfield going very narrow, makes him slow through the kink and through Inkermans. Now down to Ashby, you can see they're all closing in behind, and it's Policott looking to the inside of James English. And Walsh is again badly positioned, is losing out to Bredner. Across to Parker, Policott can hold off Bredner. He's got the high ground of the inside line. Oh, Alistair Mason going very slowly. I don't know if he's got some kind of problem, but Paul Williams is swept around the outside as Josh Walsh went up the inside, and both Walsh and Williams, Tim Williams that is, are a little bit slow. And Paul Williams trying to go round the outside into the boot, and he's done it. And Josh Walsh has been relegated right through the pack here in the space of about 2 laps. He's gone from qualification in 3rd place to 10th place. Turn 1, a little bit crossed up there, Roger Mullen, just after the apex, loses a little bit of momentum, and a chance for James English maybe to look down the inside for 4th. Atfield a little bit crossed up on the brakes, going in very deep, trying to hold them off, bouncing across the curb at the kink doesn't help Roger Mullen, but he stays ahead of James English. Policott looking for a way by, Nick Bredner, Tim Williams, Paul Williams in 9th place, Josh Walsh in 10th. And I can't see past this group to Paul Williams, anybody else qualifying, so everybody will just have to concentrate on setting lap times now. Now this group is coming at pace at Dave Sterling. Sterling at the back of the field is a little bit off the pace, needs a bit more practice I think, needs to be a bit more committed, and now he's about to be assaulted by the chasing, battling pack. Well, he's got well out the way, well done Dave. Williams sweeping up past him. Atfield on the defensive to hold off Mullen, and he's gone in very deep and very crossed up. It looks spectacular, but it's not quick, and he loses 3rd place. Back on board with Paul Williams, looking at the back of Nick Bredner. He's trying to go down the inside of Tim Williams, can't get it done, makes a mess. And a chance for Paul Williams to pick off 2 or 3 here. Across to Parker. Will he throw it down the inside of Chapman's of Tim Williams? No, he won't, he's not close enough. Down the back straight, over to the boot complex, brake, left, right. Sometimes an opportunity to throw one into the toe there. Always somebody to race in Club 100. The pace here is about half a second to a second off the pace of the top Premier class. This is the battle for 18th place. Richard Burrows, Ian Griss, Sam Jones, Amala Yekami. Back to the battle for qualification, and Roger Mullen is pulling clear of James Atfield. James English up the inside to take 4th place at Christmas Corner. Of course, he goes in deep, makes him slow across the top. Through Inkermans, a chance for Atfield down at Ashby. Oh, bit of a chop there from James English. Not too sure what he's trying to do there. Well, it's obvious he's trying to put off James Atfield, but it's not particularly fair, not encouraged. Pick a line and stick to it. Down at Chapman's, on board with Paul Williams, and it looks as though Tim Williams is getting ready to launch an attack on 4th place, and James Atfield into the boot section. So we've got really 4 drivers here fighting over that final qualifying spot as Policott and Bredner are getting detached. They can soon come back together though if they go side by side through one of these fast corners. So a penalty board out there on start finish on the Robo-Mic, and we'll explain them as we go along. There are potential for penalties, obviously advantaged by contact. There are a few others as well. James Atfield appears to be struggling for pace. Tim Williams, Paul Williams go through, and it looks as though Policott's gone through as well with Bredner behind. Konsikis is looking down the inside of Josh Walsh to try and get 10th place. He hasn't done it yet, but it looks like it's just a matter of time. Back on board with Paul Williams. Tim Williams now starting to get detached from James English, although English has gone very wide in Chapman's, missing the apex. The let's work together signal there from Tim Williams. Well, that sort of works for a little while, but there's 3 drivers fighting over 1 qualifying spot. Although I am getting word that Roger Mullen has picked up a penalty for advantage by contact. So this is actually Perm 2 from 3. Nick Policott, Bredner and James Atfield may also be still in the mix. But Christmas once again, and Williams goes in very deep. Manages not to take out James English. That would be a big mistake at this stage. Can Paul Williams get across to join in? Williams looking to the inside of Parker. Not close enough yet. So he's looking for just that one decisive, clean pass to put him into qualification. And he's got 3 laps to do it. Behind 34 is Nicholas Reynolds, picking off Josh Walsh. Been a disappointing final for Josh, but he's still got a chance if he can get a good kart and a good run out of the main B final for those 2 remaining spots on the back of the main Trophy A final. So Williams runs wide and off out of turn 1. Oh, what a shame, Tim. And it's too late to do anything now. I'm afraid James English and Paul Williams are gone. And if it is correct that Roger Mullen has picked up a penalty, it would mean that James English and Paul Williams will join Dave Price and Stuart Kirk in qualification. So running down final 2.5 laps of this pre-B final. And now Tim Williams is looking over his shoulder to hold off Nick Policott. Well, I think he'll have the pace for that. He's already driven away from him once. But getting back and getting up and getting in to the 4 qualifying positions is now looking a bit steep for Tim Williams. He might have to resign himself to trying to use that fastest lap to have pole position for the B final, which will leave him very well placed to qualify. A wave of the hand there from Mark Turner to acknowledge some kind of message on RoboMic. It's not a penalty, some kind of advisory. We're watching your driving. So this is the battle behind Josh Walsh for 12th place. Mark Turner, Paul Lloyd, Nick Butler, Mikhail Samaropoulos. Just off the back of them, Andy Katzentonis. Down to Ashby. Turner takes a look, but doesn't make the move on Walsh. Paul Lloyd now shaping up to go down the inside, and he does go through, but he goes a long way in. And on the crisscross on the exit, Mark Turner's set up to go back through at Chapman's, and he'll run him out wide. Somebody's already been run out and collected those cones. Now the purpose of the cones is to protect the karts, or protect the karts in particular from some rather hefty curbs. Curbs cause damage, and though these karts are well built, they're not immune to damage. There are no excesses and no costs for damage caused, so something has to be done to curb what should we call enthusiastic driving from running up a big damage bill. So back up front, James English has run down Roger Mullen, who is running with a penalty. We're half a lap from the finish, so English inside at Ashby. Williams goes through with him. They move into 3rd and 4th place. Mullen looking for a way by. You know, you never know, he may not have been informed of his penalty, or he may have missed it. So he may still be racing for a top 4 qualifying spot. Well, we're a few corners from the finish now. Dave Price is well out ahead, 2.5 seconds clear of Stuart Kirk. He's already through the finish. That just leaves us the question of 3rd and 4th place. And it's going to be James English and Paul Williams advancing to the A final. So on to the pre-A final, and we get to see the front runners in the championship for the first time. In pole position is Stephen Docker. On the front row with him, Mike Townley. Josh Pettit won the pre-final at Red Lodge on grid 3. Josh Hagan returns on grid 4. Simon Lloyd is joined by Dave Pethers, making a very welcome return to Club 100 action. Johnny Elliott, the championship leader, on row 4 with Rob Adlam. Daniel French and James Hattersley round out the top 10 of the top 20, and they of course are joined by the 4 qualifiers from the Pre-B final. That makes us a field of 24. Mike Townley looking over at poleman Stephen Docker, trying to judge when he's going to drop the hammer on this one. And Docker's gone, and Townley has missed it, and Josh Pettit is through to second place as they charge into turn one, side by side. Simon Lloyd through to third place. Townley's got in fourth place. Oh, there's contact behind. Chris Murray running up on the back of Darrell Lowe in the midfield. On the front 10 in pretty much single file. Ooh, Townley in crossed up. Oh, and Rob Adland's gone up the inside, and he's lucky not to get collected by somebody. They've made it through there, but it's a bit of a mess at the back of the field as well. These things tend to go down the line in a wave of trouble from corner to corner, and I think this one's going to be waved off. Indeed it is. There's an abort flag out. So behind the pace car once again, on board with Eric Mignon. On his outside is Darrell Lowe. We ride with his camera. We've got a lot of cameras in this pre-final, all designed to bring you the best of the action from Whilton Mill. Controlling the pace then, the white helmet of Stephen Docker, Mike Townley on the front row with him. The lights are about to go green, and we're racing at Whilton Mill in the Pre-A final. On board with French, that's Johnny Elliott ahead of it. Josh Hagan on his right. Dave Pethers pushing on the back of Josh Hagan. Hasn't taken long for Dave to get back up to speed, but down the inside in the red, Rod Adlam makes it 3 wide with Pethers and French. And it's Pethers coming out with the advantage. French perhaps losing out through the Inkerman's kink down to Ashby, and Johnny Elliott cuts to the inside of Josh O'Hagan to put the pass in, and he's got it done. Now across the slope to Parker, turn left. Dave Pethers is having to leave room for Josh O'Hagan, and as the marked step change in pace and aggressiveness from the B final. On board with Darrell Lowe, second in the championship, looking at the back of James Hattersley and Christopher Murray ahead. Battle for 8th place. Dan French gets his wheels inside of Rob Adlam. Around the toe, and they've completed lap 1 of what is expected to be a 12-lap final. Back of the field there, Paul Williams, James English. Quite a contrast from the front of the B. Beginning to string out into single file. We go on board with Julian Clist, looking at the back of Darrell Lowe. Julian running in 13th place, one of the early season title contenders. Got a little bit off the boil of late. Michael Ballinger inside of Dave Price at Christmas Corner. That's for 15th place. Good progress from Dave Price, starting at the back of the field, already up to 16th. Battle for 9th place. Christopher Murray's gone through on Rob Adlam, and James Hattersley's put his wheels inside of Park, and he gets it done. Good move. We're on board here with Darrell Lowe. Adlam coming straight back at Hattersley. And that draws in Julian Clist. Did I tell you how many cameras we've got in this race? We're on board here with Roger Davis. There's at least 7. And Davis is through, but he loses out as well to Michael Ballinger. On board with Davis, looking at Clist. Stephen Docker's lead is 0.3 of a second on Simon Lloyd, but Jonathan Elliott, the championship leader, has moved through Mike Townley and Josh Pettit to lead the chasing pack in 3rd place. And that pack is Josh Pettit, Mike Townley, Josh O'Hagan, Dave Pethers, riding through the Inkerman's kink, and then down to Ashby on the brakes. Oh, a little bit of a love tap, a bit of a bump and run from Dave. I know it's a bit of a bone of contention, that sort of tactic, with our clerk of the course, Nicky Richardson. But he'll get away with it because he didn't gain a position. But they've both lost a little bit of ground on Mike Townley. Docker under pressure from Simon Lloyd, and look at the rate that Jonathan Elliott has closed in to make it a 3-way fight. Dave Pethers dives in at the boot. O'Hagan not happy, but I think that's fair. Dan French on the crisscross, he's through. So O'Hagan loses 2 spots in the space of a couple of corners. He's down to 8th place. Docker under pressure, flat through turn 1, and here comes Simon Lloyd looking for the lead, and he better get on with it quick because Johnny Elliott is right there with him. Docker on the defensive up to Christmas. A wide turn in for Simon Lloyd. He's going to be quicker off the corner. Oh, side by side through the kink, and Johnny Elliott's going to get run round the outside to 2nd place, and he's done it. And Josh Pettit is under pressure from Mike Townley down at Ashby, and it's really beginning to warm up here in the heavyweights. Pre-B is always a slow burner, but once we get to the Pre-A, it really starts to warm up, and here comes Johnny Elliott. He's moving on to the bumper of Stephen Docker. Dave Pethers looking to the inside of Mike Townley. Townley forced to go in narrow, can't get it done. Johnny Elliott jumping to the inside of Docker. He's lost momentum. A chance for Lloyd to cut back and through in the last corner. Josh Pettit is there as well, and we're back together. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 karts in this leading battle. Lap 5 of 12, and Josh Pettit is looking for a way past Johnny Elliott. Docker takes a look both ways. It's only wise, it's what your mum taught you about crossing the road, but it counts just as well running up to Christmas corner in a hard-fought pre-A final. Down to Ashby on the brakes. Got to brake a little bit early because it's downhill. Across the slope and then on the run-off. Use it all, you need it. Parker can be quite tricky. Falls away on the exit. You can see where the tyres are. Johnny Elliott through to second place with a good, hard, clean move at Chapman's. Down the back straight to the boot section. Pettit to the inside of Lloyd and he's through. Townley, a chance up the inside. No, the door closes too quickly. But that will let in Dave Pethers, who's got his elbows out side by side in the last corner. He's coming through, and Dan French will come with him if he can. But Josh O'Hagan's around the outside as they lose momentum. Side by side and then into single file for turn one. It's the only way to take it. Oh, bit of a knock-knock there between them. Daniel French shaping up, and Mike Townley knows he's there. Can he throw it up the inside? Yes, he can. Oh, he's all crossed up. And into the side of Mike Townley, who's clearly upset with that one. French is through with James Hattersley. On board with Pethers in fifth, and look up front. Johnny Elliott's gone down the inside of Stephen Docker at Ashby for the lead. Darrell Lowe's trying to repeat the same move on Rob Adlam, and it's failed, and Michael Ballinger will punish him into Parker. So Ballinger moves up to 12th. But we have a new race leader. The championship leader, Johnny Elliott, has hit the front, and usually no one can catch him from there. We're at half distance. So it's Elliott, Docker, Pettit, Simon Lloyd, Dave Pethers in fifth, Josh O'Hagan in sixth, Dan French and James Hattersley make up the top eight, Mike Townley down in ninth, and Christopher Murray is the 10th place driver. Now will Docker, Pettit and Simon Lloyd work together to work themselves back up to Johnny Elliott, who's pulling out a kart length here and there all the time. Simon Lloyd looks to the inside. I'd suggest perhaps not. Julian Clist on Darrell Lowe from a long way back. Well, I'm not too sure what he was planning there. It didn't work. Mike Townley's been off the road as well. Docker takes a look over his shoulder. Couple of kart lengths. Josh Pettit closes in a little, but edging away at the front is Johnny Elliott. It's a five-way fight with Simon Lloyd, Dave Pethers and Josh O'Hagan for second place. And I'll wager that Daniel French and James Hattersley are in the fight with them as well. Hattersley moving through to 7th place. Well, Johnny Elliott just posted a 54.24 lap time. That's half a second faster than Stephen Docker and the group behind. So Johnny Elliott is moving clear. On board with Pethers, looking at Lloyd. A little bit of a lock up there, just dragging the brake, trying to maximise the braking. Through Ashby, all fairly calm there. Rob Adlam down the inside of Mike Townley for 10th, and he'll have the inside for Parker. Townley will turn in later, try and get the undercut. He's down, is he coming through? Yes, he is at Chapman's. On board with Darrell Lowe. Eric Mignon here, down in the midfield at 17th place. Oh, Darrell Lowe's gone round with contact, presumably from Rob Adlam. Not sure, and I'm not sure what Josh Pettit is trying to say, but beyond, let's work together, because Elliott's getting away, I think. But I don't think working together is going to help. So Pettit, Lloyd, Docker. Docker to the inside of Simon Lloyd. Lloyd wisely gives him a little bit of room so they can both make it through the corner. Through Inkermans, up in the curb. Docker to the inside once again. It's a defensive covering move. James Hattersley has got ahead of Dave Pethers. So James Hattersley moving through this field. Showed very well at Red Lodge. New to the championship. Side by side with O'Hagan. Who's going to try the grass? It's Pethers. Doesn't need to do it in the end. Inside in the boot section, O'Hagan's run in deep and wide by Pethers. And Dan French is on the gear block on the exit of the toe of the boot. And look, Elliott has dipped under 54 seconds for the first time. That's bang on Clubman, possibly even mid-prem class pace. Up to Christmas corner, Lloyd looking to the inside. Not quite there. Hattersley is closing in on Docker, and I think he's going to take the pass when it's on. Pethers losing a little bit of ground. So Josh Pettit fighting for second place, because Johnny Elliott is over 2.5 seconds clear with only 2 full laps left. Docker on the defensive to hold off Hattersley. Goes in narrow, goes in deep. He's slow off the corner. The momentum is with James Hattersley. So Docker's forced to go narrow into the boot section. And now, here we go. Will the crisscross be on for Hattersley? Has he got the momentum down the hill? He hasn't quite got it. Pethers is back in this fight. So Docker stays in 4th place. And it looks as though Josh Pettit and Simon Lloyd are going to argue over which step on the podium, if it was a podium, for the pre-final points for 2nd and 3rd. Sweeping through Inkermans, down to Ashby. Hattersley, forced to go narrow. I think he's conscious of Dave Pethers is in range. And indeed, O'Hagan is back in this fight. Dan French and Chris Murray. There could be a big finish here on who finishes in 2nd in the minor places. Docker looking over his shoulder. Johnny Elliott is gone. He has won this pre-A final. Let's just say it's a lap and a half to go, but he's over 3 seconds clear. Hattersley looking for 4th place, looking for the good, clean move. But as we move on to the final lap, he'll just look for any move when it's on. Using all the exit, Dave Pethers. Docker very defensive, going up to Christmas corner. I think a move's coming at Ashby from James Hattersley. Pettit getting into Ashby before Simon Lloyd, and Docker went defensively to hold off James Hattersley. Oh no, this could all come down to something in the boot section. It can get quite ugly in there. Downhill, and Hattersley has got inside into Chapman's. Now, what's Pethers going to try? He's on the grass just about. Look how narrow Hattersley's had to go to hold him. Right, battle for 4th place. Pethers leans on Josh O'Hagan, who leans back on him at the toe. French trying to go round the outside, and Chris Murray might get a run on Josh O'Hagan at the last corner. But it's Johnny Elliott back in the winning way with his 5th win of the season. Ahead of Josh Pettit, Simon Lloyd, James Hattersley comes through in 4th place ahead of Stephen Docker. Dave Pethers makes up the top 6. So while we reset the grid for the main A final, based on the lap times from the pre-A, let's drop back into the B final. 2 remaining qualifying spots up for grabs. Tim Williams and Roger Mullen on the front row, probably favourites. Nick Pollicott, Lenny Wood will probably disagree on row 2. Nick Bredner, Nicholas Reynolds on row 3. Andy Katsantonis on row 4 with Alistair Mason. Mikhail Samaropoulos and Karolis Konsikis on row 5. Now, the grid this time, obviously with 4 qualifying from the pre-A, is down to still a very healthy 25. David Sterling brings up the tail of the field. We're under starters' orders. The pace cart will pull off, and control of the pace will pass to Tim Williams. He'll be looking for that red light to turn green, and I think he's got the jump on Roger Mullen, certainly on the 2nd row. And look at the lead that Williams has got into turn 1. Lenny Wood looking to the inside of Nick Bredner. Can he get it done? No, he can't. And they all go streaming out of turn 1 up to Christmas corner, and it's Williams from Mullen, Nick Pollicott, Bredner under pressure from Lenny Wood down the inside into Christmas corner. Looks like a good move, and he's got it done. Filtering through the kink, and the Inkerman's right-hander, then down to Ashby. Here they come. Katsantonis look to the inside. 75, Samaropoulos has spun. Oh, and he's collected Richard Burrows, Josh Walsh. I think James Atfield was in there as well. Andy Katsantonis also looking now for a pusher cart. Those carts are heavy, so a big hole where they were. 65 is Karolis Konsikis. But leading is Tim Williams from Roger Mullen. Nick Pollicott 3 away at the front. Lenny Wood under pressure from Nick Bredner. That pair will definitely want to get across. Remember, it's Perm 2 from this field for 2 spots, positions 25 and 26 on the A final grid. Roger Mullen getting a run on Tim Williams up to Christmas corner, down the inside. Of course, he goes in narrow, throws him out wide. He has to square off the corner, and that's a chance for Tim Williams to squeeze inside at Inkermans. And that's just going to back the pair of them into Nick Pollicott, who comes down the inside into Ashby, gets his elbows out. That's hard, but I think that's fair. But the road will go back in Roger Mullen's favour, and that pulls in Lenny Wood to join in and throw a move down the inside of Nick Pollicott into Chapman's. And now, of course, Bredner and Alistair Mason all close in as well. Nicholas Reynolds on the back of this group in 7th place. To the inside, Mason of Bredner. Can he get it done? He can't. Loses his momentum in trying. So Bredner is able to go flat through the last corner and pull out a kart length or two. And there's a chance here for Consekas as well on the back of this group. He's running in 8th place. He's had a good start, up 3 places, although Mark Turner's gained 4 as well. The big mover right now is kart 23, up 8 places. Michael Jungling currently running in 12th place, making good progress. Trouble is, he's 5.5 seconds off the leader, and I don't think if you're not in the top 8 already, top 8 or 9, you're just not going to be anywhere near at the end, even if you've got a little bit more pace than anybody else. Down the inside of Reynolds goes Consekas, and Consekas moves up to 7th place. This is lap 3 of 14. So with another 10 laps to go, even if you're half a second a lap faster than everybody else in the field, that's only 5 seconds that you can gain, and that would not be enough for Michael Jungling to make qualification. And that's the thing. You've got to get away at the front, and it's all about qualification, B-finals. Consekas down the inside of Mason into Christmas. Gets his wheels inside but can't get it done. Wisely, Mason gives him a little bit of room as well, so they both make it through the corner rather than chop and block into Christmas. I think we're going to see Consekas at some point put that move in. I think he's got a little bit more pace than Alistair right now. Down to Chapman's, and Alistair's a little bit crossed up on braking. Keeps the spot, and it's Williams breaking clear of Mullen. Wood, Polycott, Bredner. Gap to Mason. Consekas, Reynolds. Now, really got to say, if you're not in that top 8, your chance is possibly gone already. Into turn 1, left, right. No braking there for the Brave. Up to Christmas. Williams turns in, managing his gap to Roger Mullen. He's pulled clear of Lenny Wood. And Consekas again looking for a way past Alistair Mason down into Ashby. Reynolds is there as well with the silver lid. Is it on for Chapman's? He's coming from a long way back, and it's all crossed up. He got it done. Well, and then he lost it on the exit, and he's going to lose out to Reynolds into the boot section. Oh, it's all a little bit messy. Not quite on. And look at the ground that he's lost on Alistair Mason, and that's backing up Nicholas Reynolds as well. So they're falling out of contention, but I think they'll be back for Alistair Mason. Paul Lloyd in the mix as well. Nick Butler still there. Mark Turner pulling clear of Amala Yekami in 13th. James Atfield having a disappointing day at Whilton Mill. One of the leading super heavyweights. Now, the weight differences here are 85 kilos in race kit and with ballast is the minimum weight for the heavyweight class. There's a super heavyweight class that allows for a bit more food and a bit more beer, running at 95 kilos. The leading super heavyweight right now qualified from the pre-B final and is the only driver in the A final, and that's Stuart Kirk. There's no super heavies close to qualification in this B final, so Stuart Kirk will run unopposed in the super heavyweight class in the main A final. End of lap 6 then. Tim Williams' lead, as you can see, is 0.3 of a second ahead of Roger Mullen. Another 0.6 of a second back to Lenny Wood. Nick Polycott, Nick Bredner, Alistair Mason, Carolus Consekas in 7th, Nicholas Reynolds, Paul Lloyd and Nick Butler round out the top 10. Coming up to half distance, and it's looking fairly clear that Tim Williams has got the pace on this field to qualify. The real question is second place. Can Lenny Wood or Nick Polycott or Nick Bredner get by and get through? Great circuit to drive, Whilton Mill, probably one of the best in the country. Certainly one of the best facilities, and it's handily placed in the Midlands. On to lap 8. No change up front really, although I think Roger Mullen has pulled out a kart length on Lenny Wood. Chance maybe for Nick Polycott to get in the tow. There is a slight aerodynamic toe. The thing about Christmas Corner is it's steep into the hillside, which makes braking easier because you can go deep and late and use the slope to slow you down, which is the complete opposite down at Ashby. Oh, as you can see, Richard Burrows getting out of the way, being lapped. But Ashby's a tricky corner. It falls away on the exit, although the concrete that's been put in there to fill in a very muddy hole that used to develop through people running off there actually does help you get around the corner a bit quicker, because you can put a couple of wheels on there, if not the whole cart, and get round and get out of that corner with a bit more pace than you used to be able to. Same could be said of the last corner. This used to be very tricky. It usually required something of a confidence lift to go through there. Turn 1, similar sort of thing. Of course, you've been flat from the top of the toe of the boot, so that is a really quick corner, probably one of the fastest left-right complexes in the UK. Right-handed through Inkermans. Bredner under pressure from Conseicus. Well, Bredner's fallen away from Polycott. He's about the best part of a second behind, and that will be difficult to run down in the closing stages. Alistair Mason under pressure from Paul Lloyd now. Nick Polycott to the inside of Lenny Wood in the boots side by side. Polycott gives Wood room on the exit, and it's as you were. So Lenny Wood stays in third place, but they're continuing to lose ground on Roger Mullen. Lost the best part of a second on Roger Mullen on that lap. Bredner and Conseicus still there. Paul Lloyd down the inside of Alistair Mason into turn 1. That's a brave move, and it's well executed. Conseicus looking to the inside of Bredner at Christmas, can't get it done. Bredner stays in 5th place. The rest of the field streaming through. Polycott still looking for a way by. A little bit more conscious now of Bredner, but Bredner's got problems of his own in the shape of Conseicus. Looks down the inside, can't get it done. Polycott once again trying to mount a challenge on 3rd place. I'm pretty sure he could go quicker than Lenny Wood if he could get by, but Lenny Wood proving a tough nut to crack. Good line through turn 1, makes a pass at Christmas a little bit harder, but Polycott in the toe. He's got to go for it now. Time's running down the inside, a long way in from Nick Polycott and on the grass. Now where's he coming back? Well, he's managed to stay out of traffic, but that's his chance gone. Conseicus now in position to strike down at Ashby, can't do it. And now that might back himself into Nick Bredner. Goes a little bit defensive. Shows Bredner the outside. Down at Chapman's. Nick Bredner looking for a way by. Wood on the defensive. Shows the outside once again to Conseicus. Has the high ground of the apex of the toe of the boot. And Bredner's going to do the crisscross into the last corner. Not quite there. You could see Conseicus went narrow to put him off. And it worked. Battle for 15th place. Sam Jones has got ahead of Michael Junglin. Andrew Clark in the yellow lid, trying to find a way by. Can't get it done. Oh, there's a bit of contact there from Ian Zumble. Ian Grist also in the fight. Paul Lloyd has gone round the outside of Nick Polycott at Christmas Corner. Still too much to do now in the closing stages of the B final. And it has looked, as it has from the beginning, like Tim Williams is going to qualify. Roger Mullen also looks confident of qualification throughout. Conseicus looking for a way by Lenny Wood now. Got to be conscious of Nick Bredner. Turn left, up the slope again, into the toe of the boot, and then downhill to the last corner. Your race leader, Tim Williams, on his penultimate lap. David Stirling gets just about out the way, well done, of Roger Mullen. Roger Mullen is 1.6 seconds behind the race leader, and then a further 2.5 seconds back to this battle for 3rd place. Lenny Wood hanging on to 3rd. Down to Ashby. Can Conseicus throw it inside? He's prepared to follow, not confident of pulling it off cleanly. Wood on the defensive. And he'll be slow out of this corner, and I think that might have backed him up. Down the inside goes Consequus. Oh, they're getting backed up behind David Sterling. Here comes Lenny Wood and Nick Bredner having a think about it. Oh, and Dave Sterling's thrown it off. Well, that takes that complication out of the way. Wood looks to the inside the last corner. It's not on. Oh, careful, Dave. Final lap board is out. The leaders have gone through. This is the battle for third place. And Paul Lloyd has overtaken Nick Bredner for fifth. James Atfield going through. Onamala Yekami, that was for 10th place. And Consequus has pulled out a couple of kart lengths on Lenny Wood. I think this final in terms of the top three now is settled, and certainly Tim Williams and Roger Mullen are well clear. Can Paul Lloyd find a way past Lenny Wood in the remaining 3 or 4 corners? I don't think he's going to be close enough. Into the boot section the last time. I can already tell you that Tim Williams is coming through the final corner and wins the B final. He moves to the back of the A final with Roger Mullen. Third place goes to Carolis Consequus ahead of Lenny Wood. Paul Lloyd, Nick Bredner, Nick Policott, gap then to Nicholas Reynolds. Alistair Mason and James Atfield round out the top 10. Well, after a cracking pre-A final, we're now on to the main A final. This is for the trophies, and the field of 24 is swelled to 26 with Tim Williams and Roger Mullen from the B final. Drivers' fastest lap times from the pre-A final set the grid for this final. Thumbs up from the pace car, we're going to go this time. Jonathan Elliott, championship leader, on pole position ahead of Christopher Murray. James Hattersley and Ben Daly on row 2. Josh O'Hagan and Martin Gurnett on row 3. Simon Lloyd and Julian Clist on row 4. Second in the championship, Josh Pettit is joined by Stuart Kirk, the only super heavyweight in this field, on row 5. 26 karts prepared to bring the two-stroke rain of noise down on Whilton Mill. Looking for the green light. Johnny Elliott's gone with Hattersley on his bumper into turn 1, and he's through to the lead. Julian Clist sticks his nose in between Martin Gurnett and Stephen Docker, and Gurnett has gone round and collected Dave Price. The flag for a regrid and restart is out at Christmas corner. We're going to try this one again. So here we go again then. Johnny Elliott will be trying to time another good jump on Chris Murray on the front row, looking for the green light. Picking up the pace, and we're racing at Whilton Mill, and the inside line has gone again. Elliott gets the whole shot ahead of James Hattersley. O'Hagan side by side with Chris Murray out of turn 1. Will they make it all through? Well, yes, they will. We're on board with Darryl Lowe, looking in the back of Eric Mignon and Paul Williams. Up to Christmas. On the brakes, O'Hagan in 4th place, Josh Pettit in 5th, and then it's side by side. Get your elbows out in the midfield, through the kink, through Inkermans with Julian Clist. He's got an overlap with Martin Gurnett, but he's on the outside. I think Martin Gurnett may have just moved over on him, and it's turned Martin Gurnett around. He doesn't realise what's happened. Clist not particularly well placed, but he wasn't lifting and he wasn't going off track. Down into Chapman's. Paul Williams to the inside of Daniel French in the midfield. Side by side, and that's put French on the grass. Chance for Darryl Lowe inside at the boot section, and he's through to 15th place. Eric Mignon looking to find a way past Tim Williams if he can. He's putting his nose in the last corner. Williams wisely gives him room. Well, what a start for Jonathan Elliott. He's out to 1.1 seconds ahead of James Hattersley and Chris Murray. I think the rest of the field could be racing for second place even now. Josh Pettit moving through on Josh O'Hagan for 4th place. He's second in the championship. He'll want to minimise the damage. Dan French, contact perhaps there with Paul Williams. Down at Ashby. Ben Daly trying to find a way by. Losing ground now. Stephen Docker inside of Simon Lloyd for 7th. Lloyd trying to come straight back at him, can't get it done. Into the boot section. Hattersley narrow to hold off Chris Murray. Across the toe. Who's behind? Pettit trying to get into this fight. Trying to get through to second place. If he's got any chance of running down Johnny Elliott, he's got to be quick. Josh O'Hagan in 5th. Then it's Daly, Docker, Simon Lloyd, gap to Dave Price and Dave Pethers. Pethers running in 10th place. Hattersley on the defensive. Murray looking to the outside. That's not a serious overtaking manoeuvre. And all it's doing is letting Johnny Elliott drive away. Tim Williams down the inside of Paul Williams, but goes in very deep, has to square it off on the exit of the corner, and Williams is round the outside through the kink. Not always easy to do without getting on the grass on the exit of the kink. Out of Ashby. Is Williams going to come back at him? Everybody's shaping up to have a pass there. Darrell was having a look as well. Down into Chapman's. Into the boot section. Murray goes for second place. Into the toe of the boot. That's a good move. And the crisscross is on for Josh Pettit. Murray trying to squeeze him, but Pettit is through. And Hattersley's coming straight back through as well to third. O'Hagan's out, dragged Murray as well into turn one, side by side. Hattersley and Pettit. That's not going to work. There's a lot of contact. And Pettit is in the tyre barrier. O'Hagan complaining about contact from Chris Murray, and look how narrow he's forced Ben Daly into Stephen Docker. 4 wide into Christmas corner is ridiculous. On board with Mike Townley in 9th place. Petters ahead of us, trying to find a way past Simon Lloyd, who's recovering from a bizarre attempt to go round the outside of those three at Christmas corner. Well, let's hope calmer heads now prevail. Josh O'Hagan in second, Docker third, Ben Daly in fourth, Chris Murray on his bumper. And we've got a line all the way back to Stuart Kirk in 11th place, fighting for second place. Ben Daly looking for a way by on Murray. Needless to say, race leader Johnny Elliott gained 2 seconds on the field there in that one corner incident at Christmas corner. He's now 4.5, nearly 5 seconds clear of the field, and heading for another win is number 6 of the year. Stephen Dockett to the inside of O'Hagan for second at Christmas, and he's done it and it's clean. Mike Townley trying to find a way by. Oh, and he's being collected by Dave Petters at the kink, and not very happy once again. Down into Ashby. Dave Price trying to find a way past Josh O'Hagan. Simon Lloyd trying to get back in his rhythm. Round the outside at Parker. So Ben Daly in third, under pressure from Chris Murray. There's your race leader. He's got the whole of the back straight on Stephen Docker. Ben Daly. Here comes Chris Murray to the apex of the tour. He did it. He's through. Of course, this is what happened the last time that ended up with Pettit and Hattersley in the tyre barrier. Oh, and Ben Daly went awfully close. Pushed there by Josh O'Hagan to that barrier, and Simon Lloyd is through. Definitely it's hold your breath time in the last corner and turn one in this heavyweight A final. Lloyd on the outside of Josh O'Hagan. Is he prepared to go over the top this time? No, he's not. And Ben Daly's going to be back through if he can. Has to lift at the kink, and Simon Lloyd is away. Chance maybe down at Ashby for Dave Price. Now remember, Price has come through from the pre-B final, started 13th in this A final, and is currently in 7th place, so that's got to be quite satisfaction for Dave. Behind him, Michael Ballinger in 8th, Stuart Kirk in 9th, the only super heavyweight, so that prize is his. Dave Petters in 10th. Into the boot section. Daly goes in deep behind Simon Lloyd, and a crisscross on for Simon Lloyd to take Josh O'Hagan in the last corner. Daly's mistake allows Dave Price through, but he runs wide on the exit of Pit Bend. Some pointing going on there from Big Mick at start finish. Just trying to tell some drivers to calm down, I think. So Price back in 7th place. Daly in 6th. Ballinger down the inside of Price at Christmas. Stuart Kirk holding off Dave Petters in 10th. Into Ashby. Behind Petters is Mike Townley. Darrell Law in 12th. Tim Williams from the B final. So making progress for Tim. Ben Daly getting it a bit crossed up going into Chapman's. Chance for Stuart Kirk behind. Daly will go defensive, I think. No, he's stuck to the racing line. Can get away with that mistake. Simon Lloyd trying to find a way past Chris Murray. We're on to lap 8 of 13. The race leader is over 6 seconds clear. Chris Murray using all the concrete on the exit. A chance for Simon Lloyd. He's got the momentum. Showing to the inside, cutting to the outside, forcing Murray in deep. And what a good move from Simon Lloyd. Threw him effectively a dummy. Paul Lloyd trying to hold off. Christopher Dean has managed to do it. Eric Mignon in the fight with Dan French behind. This is the fight for 14th place. French going through on Mignon. Running him out wide. The position is his. James English in the fight as well. Fights all through the field. Close, hard racing is what we want. Pethers makes a mistake, and Townley's almost chancing the grass to get a pass into the boot section. Pethers gets away with that one and stays in 10th place. O'Hagan now looking for a way past Chris Murray. He'll want to make it clean, hard but decisive. Townley once again on the bumper of Dave Pethers up to Christmas corner. Pethers is conscious of Townley behind in 11th place. Not the fastest track through there. And Darrell Lowe is closing in as well. This is beginning to develop into a four-way fight because I think Tim Williams is going to join in as well. This is for the bottom of the top 10, 10th place. You can see 2nd to 9th strung out ahead of Dave Pethers. Into Chapman's. Pethers on probably the perfect line through that corner. Pulls out half a kart length on Mike Townley. Darrell Lowe in behind, looking for a way past Townley, who missed his apex in Chapman's. If you look closely, battle for 4th place. Murray, O'Hagan, Daly, Simon Lloyd edging clear. On board with Daly. There's no lifting there. That drop in engine noise is caused by the tyres. He was flat and he's coming down the inside of Josh O'Hagan from a long way back. It's a great move from Ben Daly if he can get it squared off. No, O'Hagan back round through the kink. And Pethers is still trying to hold off Mike Townley and Darrell Lowe. Now Townley's concerned with Darrell Lowe. He has to go in a little bit narrow into Parker. Will it open up for Darrell down into Chapman's? Yes, it will, and he slides one in, but he goes in deep. And now Mike Townley on the exit. Will he be forced on the grass? Well, he was left a kart width, which is what we asked for. Side by side, sensible racing here between Darrell Lowe and Mike Townley. That will invite in Tim Williams, and through he goes into the last corner. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Dan French giving Eric Mignon a bit of room in their fight for 16th place. Kirk looking for a way past Dave Price. Look at the gap that has opened up between Stuart Kirk and Dave Pethers. 5 years or so out, and you'll find the muscles go that you used for karting, and these tyres are a lot more grippy than he will remember. Having swapped on to Vega tyres from the Bridgestones that were used, a lot more stress on the wrists and the forearms. I'm told there's quite a bit of hanging on. Johnny Elliott's lead over 7 seconds. Ignore James Hattersley, he went off in that turn 1 incident with Josh Pettit. Stephen Docker under pressure from Simon Lloyd. We've got a battle for 4th place as well. Murray makes a mistake turning into the boot, and that opens up Josh O'Hagan for Ben Daly. Oh no, not 3 wide into the last corner with Michael Ballinger. Oh, 3 into 1 doesn't go. Somebody was always going to go off. Murray is staying in 4th place. Ballinger has managed to stay ahead of Dave Price. Josh O'Hagan under pressure from Stuart Kirk. Well, Josh O'Hagan seems to have been in just about every incident today, and I'm not suggesting that they're all his fault at all. Price nearly puts him on the grass through the kink. Down to Ashby. Pethers is still managing to hold off Darrell Lowe and Mike Townley. Jonathan Elliott heading for a 6th win of the season. Docker still managing to hold off Simon Lloyd, although he's made a mistake turning at the boot. He may pay for that. Chris Murray is comfortably in 4th place. This is all assuming that everybody's got away without a penalty, and there's certainly no guarantee of that. Dave Pethers in 10th. Darrell Lowe on his bumper, coming round to start their final lap. Johnny Elliott's already up at Christmas corner. Townley looking for a way by Darrell Lowe as well. All these positions are important for the championship. Darrell Lowe shows to the inside, but I think that's just to put off Mike Townley rather than set up Dave Pethers, unless he's trying to force a mistake. Pethers went narrow on the exit of the kink. There could be a chance down at Ashby for Lowe. Not there. Pethers needs to get into Chapman's, into the boot section for the final time, Johnny Elliott. Stephen Docker is holding off Simon Lloyd, but only just into the boot section. So out of the last corner, Johnny Elliott is back to business as usual with win 6 of the season. His lead is now a whopping 66 points in the championship, ahead of Darrell Lowe. Stephen Docker and Simon Lloyd have their first podiums of the season. Christopher Murray and Michael Ballinger make up the top 5. Stuart Kirk is leading super heavyweight in 6th.
Congratulations, but a happy birthday as well. well. Third place today, driver 21, Simon Lloyd. And our runner-up then, well done indeed. Runner-up today, driver number 32, Stephen Docker. To our winner then, winning today's round number 4 here at Wiltshire Mill in the heavyweight class. Congratulations, driver number 51, Jonathan Elliott. So I'd like everybody after me to not sing it, just say happy birthday, Simon. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Simon.